Do you need a degree to get into tech? And if you don't have a degree, what are some things you can do to advance your career? Hang out, we're gonna talk about it right now. All right, guys, before we get into it, do me a favor, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I post new content here every single week, so you definitely wanna be notified about that. Okay, so let's get right into it. To answer the question plainly, because I don't like to make people wait until the end of the video to hear the answer to the question, do you need a degree to get into tech? No. Are there some positions that are going to require a degree? Yes. But can you work your way up to leadership without having a degree? Yeah, absolutely. So what are some ways that you can do this? Well, if you are someone that wants to go the technical route, you want to become an engineer, a developer, something that requires coding, then you have a couple different options. The best option, I think, is to probably attend a coding boot camp. I'm sure you might get advertised these on Instagram and stuff like that. There's quite a few of them now. Do your own research and find which ones have the best prices, which ones will work for you. But if you're wondering if those boot camps are a scam, they are not. Some of them have really great financing options, sort of like flexible financing options, and financing that you don't have to begin paying back until you've landed your first job in tech. So I've talked to some of my friends who are on the technical side, and they support those boot camps. Now, some are better than others, right? So, don't quote me and try a random one and have a bad time and think that I led you astray. Do your own research, read the reviews, talk to folks who have gone through the programs themselves. But yes, absolutely. Try out those boot camps if you want to go the technical route. Another thing that you can do is get a certification. So it depends what you'd like to do. If you want to be a project manager, well, almost any project manager at a serious company in tech is going to need a PMP certification. It's just a professional project management certification. That's like a baseline certification. As you grow your career, you can sort of stack them on top of each other and become certified in more things, more areas of expertise. But if you want to be a project manager, go through a PMP course. There's lots of different places that offer these. I would Google it. Again, do research. I know that, actually, speaking of Google, they have a huge number of certifications that they offer. You can take classes remotely, but there are tons of other websites that do the same thing. And I'm sure some places in person, if you're more of a hands-on learner, that you can go and get a certification. They're typically not extremely expensive. Again, typically have some sort of financing option. I know that my first two things that I've listed cost money, but the reality is that you're going to have to be willing to sacrifice something on some level if you're someone without a college degree, which is fine, right? And you wanted to get into a field where most people have college degrees. And so typically you're going to have to sacrifice time, energy, and maybe a little bit of cash. Don't be afraid of it, right? If this is something that you are dedicated to, whatever it costs, you'll be making way more than that soon enough. So don't stress about it. So the next thing you can do is simply just to network. I've talked about this before in some of my earlier videos, and I know that LinkedIn is super cringe. I'm aware of that, but it's currently the biggest job search website in the world. So it's a great place to network and create a great profile and start connecting with people. Like I've said before, these don't have to be people that you know extremely well. LinkedIn works in a little bit of a different way in that people who don't really know each other will connect all the time if they believe that there's an opportunity to network, right? And so it could be like your mom's friend who works for some company, or that guy that you met last year who works for some company. It doesn't really matter, but just start making these connections and start job searching and see if there's anyone that you know or acquaintances you can gather over time that maybe have a role available that you can fill, right? I think that knowing people and getting a job based on sort of a personal relationship, number one, is the way that most jobs, especially in the corporate world, are sort of given and taken. Especially the higher up the ladder you are. Almost all senior roles are just a result of nepotism. So don't be afraid of it when you're at the entry level either. Speaking of entry-level roles, this is probably the most powerful thing that you can do in order to get into tech and move your career forward. without having a degree is just be willing to work an entry-level role. Now, depending on how old you are, depending on what you have going on in your life, maybe you have a family and lots of bills, whatever the case may be, maybe you're not just some young person who just needs to pay for a bedroom. I get that, right? I've been there. There's some creative ways around it, but you can just start with an entry-level role and just be okay with the fact that it's a pretty junior role and you're going to be working with kids who just graduated college and it's not going to pay all that great, but you probably will not be the only person there who is probably overqualified for an entry-level role that's just trying to make a transition into a new industry. It's fairly common. So don't let that sort of pressure stress you out that like you're going to be the weird guy in the college class or anything like that. Getting an entry-level role and then slowly working your way up. That's what I did. I mean, that's the easiest way, I think, to get in. Now I have a college degree, so it's not exactly a one-for-one comparison, but whether you have a degree or not, you can pretty much always get an entry-level role doing something like customer support, right? Is it the most glamorous, most fun role? No, for sure it isn't. But think about it like this. Say that you want to get into software sales. You're pretty good at sales, you like sales. You can make an insane amount of money in software sales. How do you get there? Well, you have to be a cold caller, right? There's lots of different names for this role. SDRs, BDRs, whatever you want to call them, whatever fancy name you want to give them. They're cold callers, essentially. And they try and create leads and then warm up leads to pass on to the actual salespeople. And so every person that's in sales and tech that is crushing it financially had to start as a cold caller. And there's sort of that option for every single role. There's always an entry-level person or an intern or something like that sort of is the bottom of the totem pole, but they can and do work their way up all the time. So like I said, you're gonna have to be willing to sacrifice a higher paycheck for a little while. You're gonna have to be willing to sacrifice some time, right, and some energy, but it is a great way to transition into the industry. Okay guys, that's gonna do it for today. I'll repeat it. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. I love having you guys here. Let me know if you have any video ideas in the comments, anything you would like to see, especially around work, productivity, tech, anything like that. Thanks a lot, guys. See you in the next one.